Hello everyone and welcome. Sit back, relax, make a cup of tea or whatever you like to drink and get ready for new stories from Yellow Cat. Send your own favorite stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. So subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. Let's get started. Why did you quit your job right away? Part 2. Manager wouldn't help underscheduled shifts and constantly whined and complained about things she could fix, but wouldn't. She was caught clocking people out and back in as training pay just to get her labor bonus. She would mess up the schedule and then yell at the workers for not meeting her needs.
What do you mean you can't work Friday? I had you on my calendar that day. Who cares if you're in college?
We told her boss about all of her problems, but when they learned that she was clocking people out and back in as training pay, that's when everything went wrong. They checked out our store when they came out. They talked to all of us employees and asked to see our pay stubs and clockout slips if we had them. They fired her after the investigation was over. We all couldn't afford lawyers though, so we couldn't go ahead with a lawsuit to get our back pay. They did change how people clocked in and put security cameras above the clock-in station. Soon after, they hired another manager who was even worse than the first one. Often he stole the desserts and ate them in the office where the door was locked. We had hour-long wait times for seats all the way around the building, but he wouldn't leave his office to help. One night, our head regional manager showed up out of the blue. He had left his office, but was moving around in a way that made him look busy. Even though the kitchen staff was yelling for help because both grills were full of orders and no one was there to help, he would just shrug and grab a plate of food. A customer called ahead of their birthday one night to see if we still had a piece of the seasonal special chocolate cake. They knew there was one slice left, so I told them I would save it for them. I put it in a plastic wrap and wrote, "Do not eat, saved for customer," in Sharpie on it. Then I hid it in the back of the dessert cabinet. When the clients got here and after dinner, I was about to serve their dessert when I saw that it was already gone. It was being eaten by the manager in the office. I rang the doorbell and told him that was for a customer. He just shut the office door blinds. I had to go out of my way to say sorry and make up a stupid reason why they didn't get the birthday cake slice they had reserved. One night, he got mad at me because I was behind on dessert, salads, and prep work, even though I was supposed to have 3 people scheduled. "Well, put on an apron and help out," I said. "I'm a manager. I don't get paid to help out low-level cooks," he replied. That's when I lost it. I threw him a package of hot fudge without thinking about it. He walked away, but I could hear him yelling at other people, "Our prep cook is slow as S. I might need to hire someone else. What do you believe?" Then he walked over to the line and said something similar. Our main line cook told him, "Dude, we're very busy. Help or get the F out of the way." The boss was mad at him and fired him right away. The line cook took off his apron, ran into the dining room, and began yelling that he had been fired. "Enjoy your food, because you'll have to wait several hours for it to arrive." 2 other shift managers then let him out of the restaurant. That night, after a long time, I finally understood that I shouldn't have to deal with this dramatic nonsense even though I need the money from this third job. When my shift was over, I went to the boss's office. "You here to say sorry?" he asks. I stated, "No, I'm here to put in my 2 weeks' notice." He told her, "Don't bother. Don't worry about the rest of your shifts. Just get the F out of here." I was shocked at first, but then I felt a wave of relief. I had no idea how much this job was making me feel bad. I didn't spend Thanksgiving with my family because I had to work. Because of this job, I missed going fishing with my dad on Friday nights. I could have had fun with my friends going out. Someone else worked there and asked me what was funny. I told them, "I think I just got fired." Then I started to laugh. After a short time, that manager was fired and moved to another cafe. Soon after, that restaurant went out of business and he moved to work as a manager in the cafeteria at a hospital, which was funny because it was the hospital where my mom worked. Things got so bad that they had to fire him there too. After that, I haven't heard anything else about him. I'm a software developer who worked on the app server for 2 years. We had a great team when I started, but the lead got promoted twice and some people left. He told me his position was opening after that lead got promoted again. He said it was open, but couldn't tell me to apply. I think they were worried about it appearing like he was recruiting. Completed the application online. Question: have you told your manager yet? They will be notified. So I stopped and chased my manager. I told him why I wanted the role. It was a promotion, but it was working on a different product. He said he wouldn't block me. 30 minutes later, he grabs me and says he's okay with me leaving, as was his boss in a different business unit, but our unit head wasn't. He said I could quit and apply, but he didn't know if they'd accept a quitter. He then told me his boss gave me a 12% raise and a new title approval. I accepted and started job hunting that day. 3 months later, I left. I told my boss I'd stay if our product was a company and he was president. But he wasn't the president and I wouldn't tolerate our upper management. Both he and his boss understood. Their hands were tied. He lost me because the business unit head was worried about someone leaving small business for the enterprise group. The consolation was about 6 months later, the head of the BU was fired. As a Windows systems engineer, I worked for a big life insurance company that you would know. It was my idea to build a new document management system for the company because I thought it would help users with some problems they were having. But to my surprise, the users loved it. Plus, it didn't cost much, and I did all the work to connect it myself. It was great for the company and the users. Even my boss liked it. He told me it was great and that the users were really excited about it. He then told the CIO that it was his idea. So, he quickly got promoted because of that. I had no idea about any of this. After a few months, the CIO is now holding a town hall meeting every 3 months. She asks my boss to come up and talk about the great idea he had and put into action for managing documents. This wasn't planned. When he looked at me, he smiled in a really annoying way. He then got up to the podium and started talking about it. His explanation and the way people would experience it were both pretty much wrong. The good thing for me was that people in the audience began to ask him questions that I alone could have answered. The CIO knew something wasn't right, but he didn't say anything. Right then, I made up my mind to quit my job even though I had been there for 5 years. It took me a while to find a new job and write my letter of resignation. I told them why I was leaving and copied the CIO. In the letter, I was polite and not rude. I was just being honest. After I quit, my boss was fired, which was my final revenge. When was your F this HOA moment, part 2? When I opened my first bank account as a young high school student, it was linked to my mother's bank account, which prevented me from doing anything extremely foolish. This was also done by my brother with his account. Believe me, this is relevant. Years have passed, and my mom is still a resident of the neighborhood with a despotic HOA. In addition to fining us for things like having visible trash cans and front door needs a new coat of paint, they also give out Best Yard of the Month awards. It doesn't help that my mom is a single mother residing in an upscale neighborhood. She falls behind on weeding the backyard this year due to her hectic work season. The backyard, which is obscured by a fence and not really visible. The HOA fines her, and since she was too busy during the busy season to pay it on time, they put a hold on her bank account. And that meant the hold was on my account as well as my brother's because our accounts were originally linked to hers. I called my bank to find out all of this, and they referred me to a lawyer who seemed shocked to be receiving an angry call from someone who lives 500 miles away. A $200 late weeding fee resulting in a hold on 3 bank accounts. F that HOA. After listening to my mom cry on the phone, I have never wanted to egg a house or punch someone in the face more. I used to work for a contract security company that did patrols of neighborhoods for an HOA that hired us. They told us to use a Samsung tablet to write down our patrol notes, not a pen and paper, but a tablet. There was no problem with that. Trouble is, Not everyone in the neighborhood knows that we use a tablet instead of pen and paper like every other sensible guard would. Plus, they wouldn't let late logs. The software on the tablet could tell if the times we wrote down were actually being written down at those times. We had to record notes as they happened in real time. So basically, I look like some Jack-A punk standing around playing Angry Birds Furious Feathered Mammals when really, I'm doing my logs. Almost every day, I get Random Citizen. Excuse me? Why am I paying HOA fees for you to stand around on your phone pad Galaxy Plus Nanopod UFNC? What, mate? I told the HOA 4 months in a row that it was making things look bad, but they didn't listen. So I said F it and started keeping logs in the pool room storage closet, which is the only place I'm allowed to be where no one can see me. HOA fired me from the site. Said I was going back there to slack off. FHOA. FHOA was the last job I had as a neighborhood/country club gatekeeper. The gatehouse was falling apart because no one was taking care of it until earlier this year. I worked there, but didn't know who was in charge of what or where to go when something went wrong. The gate kept breaking down and needed to be fixed all the time, so the other gatekeepers and I had to deal with angry rich people, and all the stinky rich people. People would always be complaining about something, like, oh, so mysterious car driving around at 3 or 4 a.m. It was the newspaper delivery guy. The way inside of the gatehouse looked, traffic, how we do our jobs, there's stickers that open the back gate, or the fact that there aren't any snow removal services. Like I and the other gatekeepers who barely make more than minimum wage and waste most of our shifts watching Netflix have any real say in anything. We couldn't change anything because of the HOA and country club. We couldn't leave a bathroom door open, hang things on the walls, leave coats on the chair, or hang them on the bathroom door because the gatehouse was being fixed up. There were just too many rules that were pointless and too strict, and they were only there to make us look good. Sure, we looked good on the outside, but there were so many problems going on underneath that it was hard to stay positive. My coworkers saved me because they could see through the crap and were good people. Also, my boss right under me was nice and did everything she could to make things better. I left because I wanted to look for work elsewhere, not because of anything else. I'd be happy to share specifics, but yeah, FHOA. In the last 2 weeks of January after Christmas, there were ice storms. For 2 weeks, the neighborhood's Christmas lights were all covered in ice. I got on my roof the first day it melted to turn off my lights. On February 1st, while I was on my roof, someone brought me a letter saying it was against the rules to leave holiday decorations up after January 31st. When he put the letter in the mailbox, I was taking down the lights. He saw me and said hello. Since the neighborhood was still being built, the lot to my right and the 3 lots to my left were empty for 4 years. I had to fight all the time to keep the tall weeds and wild plants that took over my yard. They also used those lots to wash out concrete and store different kinds of construction waste. Real eyesore. It's not possible to see my backyard from the street or sidewalk because it's on a big slope. One time, I didn't cut the grass in the backyard because it was so slippery from all the rain. Sure enough, I got a letter telling me that my backyard was overgrown and that it had been seen during a drive-by inspection. And you're worried that my backyard hasn't been trimmed in 8 days? The 4 lots around me look like a jungle of grass and weeds that are taller than me. Oh, Jesus. The HOA sent out a letter during election season saying that political signs were not allowed. They didn't talk about the problem nicely or tell people to be polite. Instead, they just said, this is not a matter of free speech. You gave up that right when you signed the HOA contract. No thank you for your understanding or thank you for working with us, just the truth. You have no right and will be fined. Not at all appropriate. A lot of people in my neighborhood have spring wreaths on their front doors, like my neighbor did. That little red W was the first letter of their last name. I got a letter for putting up a Christmas wreath. Someone in the neighborhood hired a handyman to build some very nice little squares of fence on the back of their garage so they could hide their trash cans and store them. It's against the rules to store your cans outside, but these ones looked good, blended in with the neighborhood, and were hard to notice. A lot of letters were sent, fines were put on these neighbors, and legal action was threatened. These people did not remain quiet, which was bad for the HOA. They'd brought up their neighbors who were also fed up with the HOA's nagging, and a confrontation began. We came to every HOA meeting in a crowd and each time raised the issue of self-rule and abuse of power by the HOA. The board did not give up for quite a long time, but finally, when we threatened a class action lawsuit, they gave up. People who used to be on the HOA board quit, and a new one was chosen. The new people are a lot better than the old jerks. If you want to watch the part 1, click the link here. Thank you for subscribing, the likes, and comments. We're very happy to see you all in the comments too. Thanks for support.